I came home earlier than usual that fateful day, a nagging feeling in my gut urging me to check on Laura. The sun was setting, casting long shadows through the windows of our suburban home. As I stepped through the front door, the house was eerily quiet. The usual sounds of Laura humming or the TV playing in the background were absent. Curiosity and unease tugged at me, leading me up the stairs to our bedroom. The sight that met my eyes will forever be etched into my memory. Laura, my wife of 10 years, was in the arms of another man in our bed. The air felt like it had been sucked out of the room. "Laura!" I yelled, my voice breaking the silence like a gunshot. They sprang apart, but the damage was done. The man, whom I later learned was named Mark, scrambled for his clothes, while Laura stood frozen, eyes wide with guilt and fear. "James, I can explain," she stammered, but I wasn't in the mood for explanations. Fury boiled within me, a white-hot rage that demanded release. "Get out," I growled at Mark. "And you," I turned to Laura, "you better start talking." After Mark hurriedly left, Laura's defenses crumbled. She admitted to having an affair for the past few months. The confession felt like a knife to the heart, each word twisting deeper into my soul. "Why, Laura? Was our life not enough for you?" I demanded, my voice trembling with hurt and anger. Tears streamed down her face as she confessed that Mark was wealthy and had showered her with expensive gifts, something I could never compete with on my modest salary. The realization hit me hard. She was a gold digger, more interested in wealth than in the love and life we had built together. In a moment of resolve, I told her to pack her things and leave. She didn't argue, perhaps sensing the finality in my voice. The house that once felt like a warm, loving home now felt cold and empty as I watched her walk out the door. In the days that followed, I sifted through our financial records, uncovering a trail of extravagant spending that Laura had hidden from me. She had drained a significant portion of our savings on luxury items and gifts from Mark, making it clear how deep her betrayal ran. The initial shock of Laura's betrayal had begun to wear off, replaced by a steely determination to protect what was rightfully mine. The next few weeks were consumed by preparations for the impending legal battle. I hired Benjamin Cross, one of the top divorce attorneys in the city, known for his tenacity and sharp legal mind. "James, we need to be thorough," Benjamin advised during our first meeting. "We need to uncover every hidden asset, every suspicious transaction. Laura's behavior suggests she might have been siphoning off money for a while." The investigation into our finances revealed a tangled web of deceit. Laura had opened several credit cards and bank accounts without my knowledge, using them to fund her extravagant lifestyle with Mark. The more we uncovered, the angrier I became, but it also steeled my resolve to fight back. As the court date approached, Benjamin prepared me for what to expect. Laura's attorney will try to paint her as a victim, someone who is unhappy and unfulfilled. We need to focus on the facts, her deceit, her spending, and her betrayal. The day of the hearing arrived, and the courtroom was filled with an air of tension. Laura sat across from me, her expression a mix of regret and determination. Her attorney, a sharp-looking woman named Rebecca, presented Laura's case, emphasizing her feelings of neglect and loneliness. It was hard to listen to, but I knew our case was stronger. Benjamin laid out the evidence methodically, exposing the full extent of Laura's deception. He presented bank statements, credit card bills, and witness testimonies from our mutual friends who had seen Laura and Mark together. The courtroom buzzed with the shock of the revelations. Laura's face grew pale as Benjamin dismantled her arguments piece by piece. By the time he was finished, it was clear to everyone that Laura's actions were driven by greed and selfishness, not by any failing on my part. The judge, a stern man with a no-nonsense demeanor, looked at Laura with evident disappointment. "Mrs. Anderson, your actions have shown a blatant disregard for your marital vows and your husband's trust. This court cannot condone such behavior." The ruling was in my favor. Laura was awarded only a small portion of our assets, far less than she had hoped for. Her dreams of a luxurious life with Mark were shattered in an instant. Mark, seeing her downfall, distanced himself completely, leaving Laura to face the consequences of her actions alone. In the days following the court's decision, Laura's desperation grew. She showed up at my doorstep one evening, her eyes red from crying. "James, I have nothing," she pleaded. "Mark has left me, and I can't support myself. Please, I need your help." I stood there, conflicted. Despite everything, there was still a part of me that felt for her, that remembered the good times we had shared. "Laura, you brought this on yourself," I replied, trying to keep my voice steady. "But I won't let you suffer. I'll help you, but you have to agree to my terms." She nodded, her expression one of resigned acceptance. "I'll do whatever it takes." "You're going to work for me," I said firmly. "You will earn your keep and prove that you understand the value of what you've lost." Laura moved back into the house, but this time as my servant. She took on all the household chores, from cleaning and cooking to managing the bills and errands. It was a humbling experience for her, and over time, I saw a change in her demeanor. She became more reflective, more appreciative of the little things. One evening, as I was working in my study, Laura knocked on the door. She entered, carrying a tray with a cup of tea and some cookies, something she had never done before. "Thank you," I said, surprised by the gesture. "James," she began, her voice soft, "I know I've hurt you deeply, and I don't expect forgiveness. But I'm trying to change, to be a better person. I hope that one day you can see that." Her words were sincere, and for the first time, I felt a glimmer of hope. Perhaps through this process, we could both find a way to heal. It was a long road ahead, but step by step, we were making progress. And in that moment, I realized that redemption, while difficult, was not impossible. Laura's presence in the house was a constant reminder of the pain and betrayal I had endured. However, I could see the genuine effort she was putting into her new role. Each day she worked diligently, and her once haughty demeanor had softened into one of humility and introspection. Despite her efforts, the atmosphere remained tense and strained. One evening, as I sat alone in the living room, sipping on a glass of bourbon, the memories of happier times with Laura flooded my mind. The laughter we shared, the dreams we built together, it all seemed like a distant dream now. The chasm between us felt insurmountable, but I knew that if we were to move forward, we had to confront our past. "James," Laura's voice broke my reverie. She stood at the doorway, her eyes filled with uncertainty. "May I join you?" I nodded, and she took a seat on the couch, maintaining a respectful distance. There was a long silence before she spoke again. "I've been thinking a lot about us," she said softly, "about what went wrong, and how I let greed and envy take over. I know I've lost your trust, and I don't expect to regain it easily. But I want to understand how we got here, so we can find a way out." Her words mirrored my own thoughts. It was time to have the difficult conversations that we had avoided for so long. "Laura, it's not just about the affair," I began, my voice heavy with emotion. "It's about everything that led up to it. The lies, the deceit, the way you neglected our life together for something as superficial as money." Tears welled up in her eyes, but she didn't look away. "I know, James. I was so blinded by what I thought I wanted that I didn't see what I already had, and now I'm paying the price for my mistakes." I took a deep breath, trying to steady my emotions. "Laura, do you realize how much you hurt me? Do you understand the depth of your betrayal?" She nodded, tears streaming down her face. "I do, and I hate myself for it. But I want to change. I want to be the person you deserved all along. I know it won't be easy, and I know it will take time, but I'm willing to do whatever it takes." Her sincerity struck a chord within me. Despite everything, I could see she was genuinely remorseful, and a part of me wanted to believe that redemption was possible. "All right," I said after a long pause. "Let's start by being honest with each other. No more secrets, no more lies. If we're going to rebuild anything, it has to be on a foundation of truth." Laura agreed, and over the next few weeks, we had several deep, honest conversations. She opened up about her insecurities, her feelings of inadequacy, and how they had driven her to seek validation through material wealth. In turn, I shared my own fears and disappointments, my sense of betrayal, and my hope for a future where we could both find peace. These conversations were painful but necessary. Each time we talked, it felt like a small part of the wall between us crumbled away. I began to see a different side of Laura, one that was vulnerable and sincere, a stark contrast to the cold, distant person she had become. One afternoon, as we were working in the garden together, Laura paused and looked at me. "James, I want to do something meaningful. I want to give back, to help others who might be going through their own struggles. Maybe by helping others, I can find a way to atone for my mistakes." Her words surprised me, but I could see the determination in her eyes. It was a step towards healing, not just for her, but for both of us. "That's a good idea," I replied, feeling a flicker of hope. "Maybe we can volunteer together. It could be a way for us to reconnect and do something positive." Laura smiled, the first genuine smile I had seen from her in a long time. "I'd like that, James. Thank you for giving me this chance." As we worked side by side in the garden, I realized that while the road to redemption was long and difficult, it was not impossible. With each passing day, we were slowly rebuilding the trust and respect that had been shattered. It was a new beginning, one filled with challenges, but also with the promise of renewal and growth. Volunteering at the local shelter became a regular part of our routine. Each week, Laura and I spent hours helping to serve meals, organize donations, and lend a hand wherever needed. It was a stark contrast to our former lives, but the work was fulfilling in ways I hadn't anticipated. The shelter was a place where the importance of material wealth faded, replaced by the value of compassion and community. Laura seemed to find solace in the work. She connected with the people there, listening to their stories and sharing her own in an effort to help others learn from her mistakes. It was during one of these moments that I saw a side of Laura I hadn't seen in years, empathetic, kind, and truly selfless. One evening after a long day at the shelter, we sat on a bench outside, the air cool and crisp. Laura looked at me, her eyes reflecting a mixture of exhaustion and contentment. "James," she began, her voice soft, "I've learned so much from this experience. It's made me realize how far I had strayed from the person I wanted to be. I want to thank you for giving me this chance." I nodded, appreciating her words. "I can see the changes in you, Laura. This work has been good for both of us. It's helped me see that maybe, just maybe, we can find a way to move forward." Our evenings became a time for reflection and honest conversation. We discussed our hopes and fears, our regrets and dreams. These talks were a crucial part of our healing process, allowing us to slowly rebuild the trust that had been shattered. Laura continued her role in the household, but with a renewed sense of purpose. She took pride in her work, whether it was preparing meals or managing the finances. Her diligence and sincerity began to soften the hard edges of my anger and pain. One day, while organizing the attic, Laura found an old photo album. She brought it down, and we spent hours reminiscing about the early years of our marriage. The memories were bittersweet, a reminder of what we had once had and what we had lost. As we turned the pages, I felt a surge of hope. "Laura, do you think we can find our way back to this? To a time when we were truly happy?" She looked at me, her eyes filled with determination. "I believe we can, James. It won't be easy, and it won't happen overnight, but I'm willing to work for it. I want to rebuild our marriage on a foundation of trust and honesty." Her words resonated with me. The journey ahead was daunting, but for the first time, I felt a glimmer of optimism. We were both committed to the process, to the hard work of healing and rebuilding. Our volunteer work continued to be a source of strength. One day, while serving meals at the shelter, we met a woman named Diane, who had been through a tumultuous marriage and was trying to rebuild her life. Her story struck a chord with Laura, and they quickly formed a bond. Diane's resilience and courage inspired Laura. "James, helping people like Diane has given me a new perspective. It's shown me that no matter how far we fall, there's always a way to rise again. I want to be that kind of person, someone who can inspire and support others." I smiled, proud of the person Laura was becoming. "You already are, Laura, and together, we can continue to grow and support each other." As the months passed, we found a new rhythm in our lives. Our days were filled with meaningful work, both at home and at the shelter. Our relationship, once fractured and broken, began to mend. The wounds of the past were still there, but they were healing, replaced by a deeper understanding and connection. One evening, as we stood in the garden watching the sunset, Laura took my hand. "James, thank you for believing in me, for giving me the chance to make things right. I promise I won't let you down." I squeezed her hand, feeling a sense of peace I hadn't felt in years. "We've both come a long way, Laura, and I believe in us. Together, we can create something beautiful from the ashes of our past." In that moment, I knew that while the road ahead would still be challenging, it was a journey worth taking. Our path to redemption was not just about healing from the past, but about building a future filled with love, trust, and mutual respect. With the newfound sense of purpose and the progress we had made, it felt like we were ready for the next step in our journey, rebuilding the trust that had been shattered. Trust is a fragile thing, easily broken and painstakingly rebuilt, but it was essential for any hope of a future together. One morning, as we sat down for breakfast, I broached the topic. Laura, I think it's time we talk about how we can rebuild trust between us. It's the foundation of any relationship, and we need it to move forward. Laura nodded, her expression serious. I agree, James. I know it won't be easy, and I'm willing to do whatever it takes. What do you think we should do? Transparency, I replied without hesitation. No more secrets. We need to be completely open with each other about everything, our feelings, our fears, our finances. If there's anything that's bothering us, we need to talk about it instead of letting it fester. Laura looked thoughtful. I can do that. I've been hiding things for so long, it's time to face everything head on, and I want you to know that you can ask me anything, anytime. We agreed to start with weekly check-ins, where we would sit down and discuss everything that was on our minds. These conversations were sometimes difficult, bringing up painful memories and insecurities, but they were also cathartic and necessary. The first few weeks were rocky. There were moments of frustration and tears, but we pushed through, determined to make it work. Laura's honesty was disarming. She confessed her fears of inadequacy, her regrets, and her guilt. In turn, I shared my own vulnerabilities, my fear of being hurt again, my struggle to let go of the past, and my hope for our future. One evening during one of our check-ins, Laura looked at me with a mix of hope and apprehension. James, I've been thinking a lot about how I can show you that I'm serious about this. I want to take a step that might help us both feel more secure. What do you have in mind? I asked, curious. I want to give you access to all my accounts, my phone, my emails, everything. I want you to know that I have nothing to hide and that you can trust me completely. Her offer took me by surprise. It was a significant step, one that showed her commitment to rebuilding trust. Are you sure, Laura? That's a big step. I'm sure, she replied firmly. I want to prove to you that I'm not the person I used to be. I want to earn your trust back no matter what it takes. Her gesture was more than symbolic. It was a concrete step towards rebuilding the trust that had been lost. I accepted her offer, and for the first time in months, I felt a genuine sense of hope. As we continued to navigate our new dynamic, we found that the openness and transparency brought us closer together. We rediscovered aspects of each other that had been buried under layers of hurt and betrayal. The love that had once felt lost began to rekindle, slowly but surely. One weekend, we decided to take a short trip to a nearby cabin. It was a place we had visited early in our marriage, filled with happy memories. The trip was an opportunity to reconnect and create new memories together. The cabin was just as I remembered it, cozy and inviting, surrounded by nature. We spent our days hiking, cooking together, and talking by the fire. It was a reminder of simpler times, a chance to reconnect without the distractions and pressures of our everyday lives. One evening, as we sat by the fireplace, Laura reached out and took my hand. James, this trip has been wonderful. It's reminded me of why I fell in love with you in the first place. I know we still have a long way to go, but I'm more committed than ever to making this work. I squeezed her hand, feeling a warmth in my heart that I hadn't felt in a long time. I feel the same way, Laura. We've been through so much, but I believe we can come out stronger on the other side. As we sat there, wrapped in each other's arms, I realized that while the path to rebuilding trust was challenging, it was also incredibly rewarding. We were not just mending our relationship, we were creating a new, stronger bond built on honesty, transparency, and mutual respect. The journey was far from over, but for the first time I felt confident that we were on the right path. Together, we were learning to trust again, to love again, and to build a future that, while different from what we had imagined, was filled with the promise of redemption and renewal. As Laura and I continued to work on rebuilding our trust and reconnecting on a deeper level, it became clear that another important step in our journey was to address her relationships with our family and friends. The betrayal had affected not just us, but also those close to us who had witnessed the fallout. One Saturday morning, as we sat on the porch enjoying our coffee, Laura broached the topic. James, I think it's time I reach out to our family and friends. I owe them an explanation and an apology. I've hurt them too, and I need to make amends. I nodded in agreement. You're right. It's an important step. They deserve to hear from you, and it will help in our healing process too. Laura took a deep breath, clearly nervous about the prospect. I'll start with your parents. They've always been supportive, and I know I've disappointed them. We decided to invite my parents over for dinner. Laura spent the day preparing a meal, carefully choosing dishes she knew they loved. When my parents arrived, the atmosphere was tense but hopeful. After some polite conversation, Laura finally gathered the courage to speak. Mr. and Mrs. Anderson, she began, her voice trembling slightly. I want to apologize for everything I've done. I know I've hurt James and in turn all of you. I let my greed and selfishness destroy the trust and love we had. I'm truly sorry, and I'm committed to making things right. My parents exchanged a look before my mother spoke. Laura, we were deeply hurt and disappointed by your actions, but seeing you take responsibility and make an effort to change means a lot. It will take time, but we believe in second chances. The tension in the room eased as the conversation shifted to more lighthearted topics. By the end of the evening, there was a sense of cautious optimism. My parents' acceptance of Laura's apology was a significant step forward. Next, Laura reached out to her own family. This was even more challenging, as her parents had always been proud of her accomplishments and had high expectations. They were devastated by her actions and the scandal it had caused. We visited her parents' house the following weekend. Laura's parents greeted us with a mix of warmth and wariness. Over tea, Laura repeated her heartfelt apology. Mom, Dad, she began, her voice steady but filled with emotion. I know I've let you down. I made terrible choices, and I'm deeply sorry for the pain I've caused. I'm working hard to change and make amends, not just with James, but with all of you. Her parents were silent for a moment before her father spoke. Laura, we're glad to see you taking responsibility. It hurt us to see you stray from the values we raised you with. We hope you can find your way back to being the person we know you are. The conversation was difficult but ultimately healing. Her parents offered their support, and Laura's relief was palpable. The next step was to reconnect with our friends. Laura decided to host a small gathering at our house, inviting those who had been closest to us. It was an anxious time as we prepared for the evening, not knowing how they would react. Our friends arrived, and after some initial awkwardness, the atmosphere began to warm up. Laura stood up and addressed everyone, her voice confident but sincere. Thank you all for coming. I know I've hurt you by betraying James and breaking the trust we all shared. I lost sight of what was important and made terrible choices. I'm truly sorry. I'm working to rebuild my life and my relationships, and I hope you can find it in your hearts to forgive me. There was a moment of silence before our friend Michael spoke up. Laura, it takes a lot of courage to admit your mistakes and ask for forgiveness. We're all here because we care about you and James. It's going to take time, but we're willing to support you both through this. The rest of the evening was filled with laughter, shared memories, and a renewed sense of camaraderie. Laura's apology had been accepted, and our friends were willing to give her a chance to prove herself. With each apology and heartfelt conversation, Laura not only mended her relationships, but also strengthened our bond. Seeing her take these steps made me proud and hopeful for our future. By reaching out to our family and friends, Laura was taking concrete actions to rebuild the trust and respect she had lost. It was a difficult journey, but each step forward brought us closer to healing. Together, we were slowly but surely mending the fractures in our lives, creating a new foundation built on honesty, transparency, and genuine connection. With her personal relationships beginning to heal, Laura turned her focus to rebuilding her professional life. Her career had once been a source of pride and identity, but the fallout from her actions had tainted it. Now, she sought to reclaim her professional integrity and find a new path that aligned with her transformed values. One evening, as we sat in the living room, Laura broached the subject. James, I've been thinking a lot about my career. I can't go back to the way things were. I need to find a new direction, something that aligns with who I am now. I nodded, understanding her dilemma. What are you thinking of doing? I want to use my skills to make a positive impact, she said thoughtfully. Maybe I can help others who are struggling, like the people at the shelter. I want my work to mean something. The next day, Laura began researching nonprofit organizations and community programs. She reached out to several, inquiring about volunteer opportunities and job openings. Her determination was inspiring, and I could see how much she had changed. After a few weeks of searching, Laura landed an interview with a local nonprofit organization that focused on helping individuals and families overcome financial hardships. The organization provided education, resources, and support to those in need, and Laura felt it was the perfect fit for her newfound purpose. The interview went well, and Laura was offered a position as a financial advisor and program coordinator. Her role would involve counseling clients, developing educational workshops, and helping to manage the organization's financial literacy programs. On her first day, Laura was nervous but excited. As she walked into the office, she was greeted by the director, Emily, a warm and energetic woman who welcomed her to the team. "Laura, we're thrilled to have you on board," Emily said with a smile. "Your background and skills are exactly what we need to help our clients. I know you'll make a big difference here." Laura dove into her new role with enthusiasm. She quickly connected with her colleagues and clients, using her expertise to help those in need. Each day was challenging but rewarding, and it was clear that she had found a place where she could make a real impact. One evening, as she shared stories from her day, I could see the fulfillment in her eyes. "James, I feel like I'm finally doing something that matters. Helping these people, seeing their progress, it's incredibly rewarding." "I'm proud of you, Laura," I replied, genuinely moved by her transformation. "You're making a real difference, and it's clear how much it means to you." As the months passed, Laura's dedication to her work only grew. She spearheaded new initiatives, such as a financial literacy workshop series and a mentorship program that paired clients with volunteers who had successfully overcome similar challenges. Her passion and commitment earned her the respect and admiration of her colleagues and clients alike. Her work at the nonprofit also helped her continue to heal and grow personally. By giving back and helping others, she found a sense of purpose and redemption that further solidified her commitment to living a life of integrity and compassion. One day, after a particularly successful workshop, Laura received a heartfelt thank you note from a client. The note expressed deep gratitude for the guidance and support Laura had provided, crediting her with helping the client regain control of their finances and life. Reading the note, Laura was moved to tears. "James, this is why I do this. Knowing that I've helped someone turn their life around, it's the best feeling in the world." I hugged her, feeling proud and inspired. "You're doing incredible work, Laura. You've come so far, and you're making a real difference in people's lives." Laura's journey was far from over, but she had made significant strides in rebuilding her professional life. Her new role allowed her to combine her skills with her passion for helping others, creating a career that was both fulfilling and impactful. Through her work, Laura continued to prove to herself and to those around her that she was committed to change. She had faced her mistakes head-on, taken responsibility, and found a way to turn her life around. The trust she was rebuilding in her professional life mirrored the trust we were rebuilding in our relationship. As we continued to navigate our journey together, I felt a renewed sense of hope and optimism for our future. Laura's professional success was a testament to her determination and growth, and it strengthened our bond as we moved forward, hand in hand, on the path to redemption and renewal. Laura's transformation had a ripple effect that extended beyond her immediate relationships and career. It also began to attract the attention of old friends, people we had lost touch with during the tumultuous period of our lives. Some had distanced themselves due to the scandal, while others had simply drifted away. Now they started reaching out, curious about the changes in our lives, and eager to reconnect. One day, I received a call from Tom, an old college friend who had been like a brother to me. We hadn't spoken in years, and his voice brought back a flood of memories. "James, it's been too long," Tom said warmly. "I've heard through the grapevine that things have been changing for you and Laura. I'd love to catch up if you're open to it." I agreed, and we arranged to meet at a local cafe. The meeting was filled with nostalgia and genuine curiosity about each other's lives. I shared the story of our journey, Laura's betrayal, our struggle to rebuild trust, and her remarkable transformation. Tom listened intently, his expression thoughtful. "James, it sounds like you both have been through a lot. I'm glad to hear that you're working things out. I'd love to see you and Laura more often." A few days later, Laura received a message from her old friend Kate. Kate had been her confidant for years, but their friendship had strained under the weight of Laura's actions. Kate's message was tentative but hopeful. "Laura, I've heard about the changes you've made. I'd love to catch up and hear more if you're open to it. Let me know." Laura was both excited and nervous about reconnecting with Kate. "James, I really want to see her, but I'm worried about how she'll react. She was so disappointed in me." "Just be honest with her," I advised. "Show her how much you've changed. If she's reaching out, it means she wants to reconnect too." Laura and Kate arranged to meet for lunch at a quaint little bistro they used to frequent. As they sat down, there was an initial awkwardness, but it quickly gave way to heartfelt conversation. "Kate, I owe you an apology," Laura began, her voice sincere. "I let you down and pushed you away when I needed you the most. I've changed a lot since then, and I hope you can give me a chance to show you that." Kate looked at Laura with a mix of sadness and hope. "Laura, I was really hurt by what happened, but I've missed our friendship. Seeing you take responsibility and make these changes is a good start. Let's see where this goes." As the weeks passed, more old friends began to reach out. Each reconnection was an opportunity for Laura to demonstrate her growth and for us to rebuild our social circle. We hosted a small gathering at our house, inviting both old and new friends to come together and celebrate the progress we had made. The evening was filled with laughter, stories, and genuine connection. Laura's humility and sincerity were evident as she mingled with our guests, openly discussing her journey and the lessons she had learned. At one point during the evening, Laura pulled me aside, her eyes sparkling with gratitude. "James, I can't believe how far we've come. Reconnecting with everyone has been amazing. Thank you for standing by me and giving me the chance to make things right." I smiled, feeling a deep sense of satisfaction. "You've done the hard work, Laura. You've shown everyone, including me, that people can change and grow. I'm proud of you." The gathering was a turning point. It solidified the support and acceptance of our friends and marked the beginning of a new episode in our social lives. We were no longer isolated by our past mistakes, but embraced by a community that believed in second chances. As the night drew to a close, I looked around at the faces of our friends, both old and new, and felt a profound sense of peace. Laura's journey of redemption had not only healed our relationship, but also brought us closer to the people who mattered most. The road ahead was still long, but with the support of our friends and family and the strength of our renewed bond, I knew we could face any challenges that came our way. Together, we were building a future filled with love, trust, and the promise of new beginnings. Months had passed since our circle of friends had reconnected, and life seemed to settle into a rhythm of stability and hope. Laura's career at the nonprofit continued to thrive, and our relationship had grown stronger with each passing day. Little did we know another surprise was waiting just around the corner, ready to fill our lives with even more joy. One evening, as we sat together after dinner, Laura hesitated for a moment before speaking. "James, I've been feeling off lately. I took a pregnancy test today, and it's positive." I stared at her in disbelief, a mixture of shock and excitement flooding through me. "Laura, that's incredible news. Are you sure?" She nodded, her eyes bright with emotion. "Yes, I've taken a few tests just to be sure. We're going to have a baby." We held each other tightly, overwhelmed with happiness and anticipation for the new addition to our family. As the weeks passed, Laura's pregnancy progressed smoothly. We attended doctor's appointments together, listened to the baby's heartbeat, and eagerly prepared for our new arrival. 9 months later, our daughter Emma was born. Holding her for the first time was a moment of pure joy and wonder. Laura was radiant as a mother, her love and devotion to Emma evident in every touch and tender smile. Becoming parents brought us even closer together. We navigated the challenges and joys of parenthood as a team, supporting each other through sleepless nights, diaper changes, and the overwhelming love that filled our hearts. As Emma grew, our bond as a family strengthened. Laura's dedication to her role as a mother was inspiring, and I found new depths of love and admiration for her. Our home was filled with laughter, milestones, and the warmth of a growing family. 2 years later, our family welcomed another member, a son named Liam. His arrival completed our family in ways we hadn't imagined possible. Laura and I watched in awe as Emma embraced her role as a big sister, with love and protectiveness. Our days were filled with the joy of watching our children grow, learn, and discover the world around them. Laura balanced her career with motherhood effortlessly, finding fulfillment in both roles. Our home became a sanctuary of love and laughter, a testament to the strength of our journey together. Looking back on everything we had been through, the pain, the betrayal, the hard work of rebuilding, we knew that every moment had been worth it. Our family was a living testament to resilience, forgiveness, and the transformative power of love. One evening, as we sat on the porch watching the sunset, I took Laura's hand in mine. "Laura, we've come so far. I'm grateful every day for the chance to build this life with you." She leaned her head on my shoulder, smiling softly. "Me too, James. Our journey hasn't been easy, but it's been worth every moment. I love our family." As we sat there, surrounded by the sounds of our children playing and the warmth of our home, I knew that we had found our happily ever after. Together, we had created a life filled with love, laughter, and the promise of a future filled with endless possibilities. Our journey of redemption had led us here, to a place of happiness, contentment, and the deep understanding that no matter what challenges life may bring, as long as we faced them together, we could overcome anything. And so, we embraced the beauty of our imperfect, extraordinary life, grateful for every twist and turn that had brought us to this moment of peace and joy.